Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is The Housewife Did It.
Pop culture edition. Going back to normal for now. But then we have a surprise for you.
Yes.
All right. It's been a minute, so bear with us as we get through all of the tidbits from our time away. You ready? Okay. So Garcelle has unfollowed the entire cast of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, including Sutton, which I'm on season 4, so I don't know this, but apparently that's a big deal.
Yeah.
After her departure from the show.
That's her bestie.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Interesting.
Taylor Armstrong was featured on a new episode of a show called Hollywood Demons, and the episode is titled Housewives Gone Bad. It's on Investigation Discovery, but I watched it on Hulu. But basically in this episode, Taylor is featured sharing details of the domestic abuse oh my god. The domestic abuse she suffered at the hands of her husband before he died by suicide. So I did watch this, and it wasn't just about Taylor Armstrong. So they covered Teresa Giudice, Erica Jane, Danielle Staub, Nene Leakes very briefly. They showed her mugshot and then moved on. And Jen Shaw. First of all, did you know that Joe Giudice's real name is Giuseppe?
No.
Joe is short for Giuseppe.
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe Giudice.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But I mainly watched for the Taylor part. Honestly, it was kind of gross, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So they interviewed one of Russell's friends, and basically he said Taylor loved attention, and Taylor put strain on her family by adding to her fame by becoming a housewife, and that if that hadn't happened, Russell wouldn't have been abusive and he wouldn't have died.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. It's interesting that you're I was watching for the Taylor Armstrong storyline. Because I know nothing about this.
Yeah.
And even when you first started watching Beverly Hills and you were talking about her, I was I don't remember any of this.
I'm enamored.
Yeah.
By her. I thought it was weird that guy said that, because he also said that all Russell wanted in life was to be rich. And so he said, he asked him, why would you want to do this show? And basically he was like, I want to be rich.
Yeah.
If we do this show, we'll be rich. And so but then he was like, and if Taylor hadn't put them on this show, and what? Your friend wanted to be on the show. So Taylor explained that she had experienced physical abuse as a child as well, which is why she changed her name. So the friend of Russell's was like, Taylor isn't even her real name. Basically that her name was Shayna or Shayla or something. Taylor. Taylor was her last name.
Okay.
Then she changed Taylor to her first name and changed her last name to Ford.
Okay.
But she said that she was a huge fan of Tom Ford. And then when she got married to Russell, changed her last name to Armstrong. But she was explaining that the reason she wanted to change her name was because she had such a terrible childhood. She wanted a fresh start.
Sure.
So she said after she and Russell met, they moved in together within a couple of months. He spent a lot of money on her. Then they got married in Cabo within a year, and then she quickly became pregnant with their daughter Kennedy, who is 4 when the show starts. She said that she was drawn to Russell because he was a dad. He was an active part of his children's lives, unlike her own father, despite being divorced from their mother. Then she starts getting into the abuse, she has with her all these years later a recording device that Russell had hidden to tape her conversations, and explained that he once threatened to kill her for giving his kids pizza without vegetables. And then
Like without
another
vegetables on the pizza, or
right,
without a side of vegetables.
without it, he said, if you ever fucking give my kids pizza again and no vegetables, I will fucking kill you.
Okay.
And he like had his hand on her neck when he said it. She said that he held her head underwater in a pool because her friend's fiance offered to help her get out of the marriage. So she said that, like, basically the people who were close to her knew she was being abused, which we see on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills early on. In season 2, Camille says, like, we don't say that he broke your jaw. We don't say that he choked you and whatever. She said a lot of her friends knew, and she was having a conversation at her friend's engagement party, I think, and Russell had walked away, and the fiance said, like, we'll help you if you want to leave. Like, we will get you through it. You can stay with us. And Russell had not actually left. He had just walked around a corner so that he could listen to their conversation. And he came back and he held her head underwater in the pool, and, like, I think he hit the guy or something.
Oh.
She said also that it was, like, difficult for her during that time, and she questioned if she was actually being abused because of, like, all the things he provided for her in their, like, lavish lifestyle. She was like, I should feel really lucky that I can live this life. And, like, at first his red flags, like, didn't seem so bad to her. So, like, she said, like, for example, he made her stop working. So she said that part of the reason she changed her last name to Ford was because she was working in the fashion industry also. And so, like, she really loved Tom Ford. It was part of her job. And she was working in the garment district in LA, which is, like, I believe where, like, the Cecil Hotel is.
Sure.
Kind of area. And so she said that, like, when they first got married, he said he didn't want her to work anymore. And she was like, why? And he said that it, like, wasn't a safe area. He didn't want her going there every day. And so she said, like, she didn't see it as a red flag initially, but then when she did stop working, he stopped giving her access to their money. And so, like, anything that, like, she had, or, like, that their daughter had, like, she had to kind of, like, show him she deserved.
Sure.
And then, like, everything else she said was information that has been on this show. Like, she explains what Camille was talking about with, like, him breaking her jaw, how she decided to leave him, that he gave her a black eye, and that, like, when she went in to get the eye checked out, he had told her to say that Kennedy kicked her while she was pushing her on the swing, and the doctor said, were you pushing her from the front?
Yeah.
And then he said that the only other time he had seen, because she said he fractured, like, her orbital socket or something like that. And he said that the only other time he had seen that was a police officer that had gotten punched in the face during an arrest. So she kind of explains all of that again. But it was a really good episode. They also, like, interviewed people who had been victims of Jen Shah's crimes. Danielle Staub, I do not know anything about her, but she was fascinating.
Yeah.
I was like, ain't no fucking way.
Yeah.
This is real. They also interviewed somebody who worked for Jen Shah. So that was interesting to hear. But yeah, it was a good show. Would recommend. But moving on. Mia Thornton announced that she'll not be returning to Real Housewives of Potomac, which I personally am not mad about. Like, good riddance.
Yeah. I know you are thinking about watching. I have been watching Love Hotel. So good, so fun. I will say, I don't know if it's on Bravo or if it's like a Peacock special. It seems like the type of show that would only be on Peacock. But I do. Okay, we're going to get to this. And it was not my favorite thing for them to drop 10 episodes of Vanderpump Villa at once. I was so overwhelmed. However, I thought that Love Hotel was going to be all of the episodes. Like, I was like, cool, I'm going to binge it all. And then I was like, there's only 3.
Yeah.
And I have to wait. But it's very good.
It's like they release all the episodes of shows we don't want to see all at once. And then they hold back episodes of shows we want to binge.
Yeah, like Love Hotel is so, like, chill right now that I'm like, yeah, keep it going. But we have Shannon, we have Luann, Giselle, and Ashley. I'm still quite early in Potomac, so they gave me an entire spoiler rundown of everything kind of that happens with Ashley and Michael, so that's great. But it's very good. I like it.
Paige confirmed what we all suspected on Watch What Happens Live. She said there was no way in a frozen hell. She didn't say that. I said that. Yeah. But basically, she said there was no way in a frozen hell she was going to get married at BravoCon. Yeah. She said, Andy, do I seem like the type of girl that has convention center written on her wedding invitation? She also, like, agreed that Craig doesn't owe her anything by defending her against cheating rumors as an ex-boyfriend, but that he was just straight up lying at the Southern Charm reunion. Yeah. She was like, yeah, he doesn't owe me, like, his defense, but I think he could just maybe not lie and make things up.
Also, I do agree that our breakup was not mutual.
Right.
I broke up with him. Yeah, he's right.
Emmy and Will are engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. That's what.
Okay.
Bravo has announced some new shows, and I'm so excited. Oh my god. Y'all don't understand what Wife Swap was for me.
Right.
Wife Swap Housewives Edition, I'm gonna eat it up. Yes. I'm so excited. It's gonna be ridiculous. I need, like, good God, I need Kathy Hilton. But I need Beverly Hills to switch with, like, some random housewives in Arkansas. Like, I'm so excited. This is going to be so fun.
Are they switching with, like, regular people, not with each other?
No, it's a real housewife and a real housewife that are going to switch.
That's funny. After a, like, confusing experience in the Celebrity Big Brother UK house, JoJo Siwa came out.
Or for JoJo?
For everyone. JoJo Siwa came out and immediately broke up with Kath Ebbs at the after party. During the show, she joked that she was mad at Kath and, like, wasn't going to let them live down the fact that they didn't say they loved her in her HOH letter. But other viewers think perhaps it has more to do with her friendship with Chris Hughes. Mm-hmm. So I do want to hear your thoughts on JoJo and Chris.
Yeah. So JoJo's been doing a lot of press. She has, and I also want to pause. This is not like a correction, but I do want to say this, that, like, JoJo Siwa did talk in Celebrity Big Brother about not necessarily feeling like a female, not necessarily feeling like a male. So I want to say that for now, we are using she, her pronouns because that is how we know JoJo Siwa. But, like, if something changes before this airs or something changes in the future, like, please know JoJo has every right to change that. But this is what we're working with for now. But what I'm saying is she's been doing a lot of press, and she has sworn up and down that they did not break up because of Chris.
Right.
She says that there was some drama. Kath said they weren't going to come, and then they showed up anyway, and then they were just begging JoJo, do you want to be with me? Do you want to be with me? Do you want to be with me? And JoJo's like, I've just had this, like, experience where, like, I had a lot of things happen, and, like, I don't know right now. And then
I think she also said that, like, she realized at some point, like, she's not as happy as she would like to be with Kath while she was in the house. And so I think that, like, coming out to that and, like, not knowing that Kath was going to be there and then kind of being, like, pride with, like, what do you want? What do you want? Like, I think was kind of overwhelming for somebody who,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, she's what, like 21?
Yeah.
And she's like, also like, I don't know that I'm happy. And I think that's very overstimulating.
Yeah. And I think that, like, from both perspectives, like, JoJo's overwhelmed with, like, the fact that in
Mm-hmm.
this experience, she has changed her sexuality identifier
Mm-hmm.
to be queer and is maybe tiptoeing around changing her gender identifier. But the same for Kath, that, like, they are watching JoJo on this show, their partner that they
Right.
know and love on this
Right.
show, begin to identify themselves differently. And so I don't think it's crazy for Kath to be like,
Right.
I want to know where your head's at. Now,
Right.
was the after party the setting for that?
Right.
Sounds like maybe not. And I think JoJo's kind of point has been, we may have broken up anyway, but, like, it, because I had to make a decision right then is why it ended up the way it
Yeah.
did. I think JoJo's disappointed that Kath went so public with it. But about JoJo and Chris, they also did press together afterward. Although I'm unclear on, like, who won and, like, what's the finale, who was in the
Why are there
finals.
5 people in the finale?
Yeah, and I was like,
Why does it last so short amount of time?
is this like Traders where, like, multiple people won? Because, like, unless, then I was like, maybe JoJo was in, like, a,
Are they a
like,
team?
a jury house after, and that's why she wasn't out. Like, I don't know. We obviously didn't watch. Anyway, so they go on a press tour together, and I'm thinking, like, they're going like they're the Bachelor and the winner of the Bachelor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
This is Good Morning America.
Yeah, like, okay. But basically, Chris says we are soulmate friends. JoJo, they talk about how, like, this relationship is just like nothing else they've ever experienced.
Mm-hmm.
JoJo said, though, which I think, if Joey and Sarah from Love Is Blind taught us anything, you don't say this if you don't want to be together. So JoJo said, quote, I don't know any future of anything, but I am really grateful for the dynamic that we have, the bond that we have, and whatever life does, life will do. When you that fresh out of a breakup and you are even entertaining being with this man, also with this man.
Right. When you're fresh out of a breakup as a lesbian and entertaining being with a man?
Yeah. Now,
like, you are thinking something.
Yeah, Nick Viall had a point, like, about JoJo identifying as queer, where he said, like, your partner was non-binary. So, like, it isn't crazy to be like, I'm not, like, a tried and true, possibly I'm not a tried and true lesbian, because I don't need to date people who identify as women.
Yeah.
However, there's a little bit of a difference to a cisgender man. But to get it, girl. Obviously, her journey with her sexuality and her gender is its own thing. I do think that it's hard to believe that the entire breakup is entirely unrelated to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, if nothing else, Chris Hughes opened up her eyes to the possibility of a romantic relationship with a man. Maybe she doesn't end up with Chris. But very clearly, I think this played a role in, like, because I think that before Celebrity Big Brother, even, like, post her Karma era, like, JoJo has been like, fuck men, I love women, I am a lesbian. Like, she's like, oh, I'm a lesbian.
Big old lesbian.
Big old lesbian. And so it's like, I think that, and that's what Mary meant by JoJo Siwa lesbian.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, if nothing else, this made her think, like, wait, I could feel some sort of connection with men.
Yeah.
So
when she was talking to Danny about, like, that she feels maybe more queer than, like, how she's previously identified, I thought, like, that was kind of my thought, was like, I wonder if this has to do with the fact that she's like, maybe I'm not a lesbian, maybe I like some men, or I'm in a relationship at this time with
a
non-binary person. And so, like, I think that that's I thought when she said that, like, I wonder if this is kind of her coming to terms with the fact of, like, I don't only see myself dating women.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's fair to say that he's opened her eyes.
Yeah. It is a huge age gap too. Like we have to.
He's in his 30s.
Yeah. So I mean, I was like kind of hoping we would hear him say like no.
Yeah.
Now, God, imagine the headlines if he was like, no, JoJo's like a little sister to me, and you're like,
I know.
oh. So I mean, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what he could have said that was right, but
What's
like,
he from? Is he from Love Island?
yeah, from
Okay.
Love Island UK, which I don't watch. So,
Speaking of gays, RuPaul. Dang, I thought it was gonna start kind of funny when I said
no,
that. RuPaul's Drag Race star Jiggly Caliente passed away at the age of 44 after
wild.
complications with an infection in her leg that caused her to receive an amputation. Like just days before she passed away, she had
Oh
been in the
man.
hospital. Yeah, did you not know that?
I mean, I knew that Jiggy Caliente passed away. I didn't know all
She
this.
had her, yeah, so she had an infection in her leg, went to the hospital, her leg was amputated. They posted that, like, that her leg was amputated and that she was still experiencing complications from this infection. And then a few days later is when she passed away. And after that, Tyra Sanchez, who won season 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race, tweeted a set of illustrations. One with Tyra standing in front of a headstone that read, "Here lie those who came for me." And another with Tyra as Penny Proud and Jiggly Caliente as one of the Gross sisters from the Proud family. And the caption of the tweet said, "Moi, no leg."
I don't
She
understand.
did the same thing when the Vivian passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So she quote tweeted a 5-year-old quote that the Vivian had previously made about Tyra, saying like Tyra's always fuming about something, and she said, quote, "Yet it doesn't compare to the fumes of the crematorium." And then when somebody said like, or people were like, "Hey, no,"
Mm-hmm.
she said, "She's dead, rotting. Sending me all the hate in the world won't bring her back, but do as you must." So fans are calling for Tyra to be stripped of her title,
Mm-hmm.
which hasn't happened just yet, but RuPaul did post a captionless Instagram reel of herself slapping Tyra in the face from a music video that they made during season 2, which I do think she should be stripped of her title, but is also kind of good.
Yeah, but it feels like that's kind of the same thing Tyra's doing. Like, it's just like dropping these little like posts. Like
Yeah,
RuPaul's just like
true.
slap you in the face, and like I don't know. I have to like not that it matters. Like I want to be clear that like, like
Yeah.
impact matters, but like I need to know the intention. Like, does she think that these are like that people will like? Did she really think like oh, like I'm actually coping and like I actually will miss this person
Have
and
you
but like
seen
I
season 2
cope.
of RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yeah, I have. And I
Okay.
remember her name and I remember RuPaul slapping her, but I don't remember a whole lot.
She's mean. She like
And
that's her whole thing is like
I
she
get
is.
that.
I don't
I
think
just
she's
like
trying to be funny.
I think just like me as a human, like I need there to be some other like I'm like she has to somehow be like coping through humor, but like I don't
No, like she
know.
doesn't
Like
like these women. And because I'm because I don't know. I think it's like that I think she just doesn't like these women or these
that's
people.
just
And
so crazy and
so
so different
they're
from like wanting them dead, you know?
I
Like
know,
that's
but
just
like
so
so
wild.
like after I think it was after the
I do
Vivian
remember
passed
her.
away, um Candy Muse said something to her and was like, "You're a bad person." And I've tried, and she said, like, I think kind of what you're saying. She's like, I tried to defend you, that, like, this is kind of how drag queens act sometimes. Like, it's coping with humor, whatever. Like, I can't defend you anymore. Like, you are just a bad person. And she, like, said something about how, like, Candy was going to die next.
Jesus Christ. I do remember that she was just like a provocateur.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
will say, on the note of what you were saying, Lady Bunny has also kind of gotten some heat for her posts after those two died. So she posted a picture of Joella from this season of RuPaul's Drag Race, and like the look that she got sent home in, and said like R.I.P. Jiggly Caliente.
Yeah.
And then she had done the same thing with the Vivian, where she posted, I don't remember who it was, but she posted some person and said like R.I.P. the Vivian. And it was like clearly not her.
Yeah.
And so like I think that like people are saying like that was insensitive, and like I'm not saying it's not, but I think that we do have to understand like drag culture
I
and
think
like
that's what I'm trying to
reading
think
in
is like,
some way. But
are
I
we
think
just
that
not getting it? But
I think that the level at which like Lady Bunny did it and the level at
yeah.
which Tyra Sanchez is doing it are very different. Like
Yeah.
I can like clearly see that Lady Bunny is trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And like that it's not meant to like disrespect. Like Tyra Sanchez is like, I hope these bitches die.
Yeah. I know you've already read this, but I'm just going to read it. Candy Muse said, I've defended you for years, but now you can absolutely go fuck yourself. And if our paths were to ever cross, it's absolutely on sight, bitch. It's not a threat. It's a promise, you disgusting person. And Tyra said, threat received. Prepare your funeral.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy.
But I want to say, even these situations aren't the first time I think I've heard she's been asked to be stripped of her title. And
Yeah,
I
there's
don't
something from
remember.
2018 that
Yeah.
says, do not attend RuPaul's DragCon on May 12th,
Yes.
2018. Don't say I didn't warn you. And everyone said, did she just make a terroristic threat toward us?
Yes.
Like,
She's, and like I think even when she was on the show,
this
I
is
think there were things
crazy.
that people were like, she takes it too far. It's not funny when she
Yeah.
does it. And like people were mad when she won
Yeah, I do remember that.
because she was
But
so mean.
I remember kind of feeling like she is the best.
Yeah.
But she's so mean, but like
Yeah.
she should win.
Like, and like she was mean in like a,
It's just different when
not
people
like
are
a
not dead.
snarky way. She was not mean in a snarky way. She was mean in like making fun of people for things they can't help
Sure.
way.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of gays,
In headline news, Leah Michelle can read.
I gotta say, I watched that clip. I didn't see her read a thing.
She read the whole card.
The clip I saw, she said, "Give me that card," and then they laughed and it cut off.
Oh, no. She read the whole card. And then she went on to say that it was very, very offensive that people have spread this rumor about her because her
Bitch, shut
family.
up.
Because she was a first generation to go to college. Her parents grew up in the Bronx and were poor. And she was in debate and she was smart and all this stuff, but that she had a hard childhood. And that's not nice for people to say that she can't read when her family was poor and they were not the most educated people in the world.
Okay, same. I still think it'd be funny if people started a rumor that I couldn't read.
Pulling out our dad's old poetry and be like, look, I can read because my dad can.
Can? Barely.
So, you know, there's spin-offs and shit coming and it's all usually on Bravo, but oh my god, I'm so excited. Not only is Love Island USA regular old season coming back in June, but also they are doing a spin-off specifically with the cast members from season 6. And I just must say, how good must that feel for those people? Like, they do things like Love Island games, like you get invited back and it's like, or if you're in the Netflix universe, like obviously you get invited back to 100 different things, but like this is like just for them. It is like a whole show just for one season of people that were so good together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's crazy. Serena's on, Janae and her man's. Did I forget the name of? Kenny. Janae and Kenny are on. Some other drama people and Leah and Miguel are on. Cordell is not a cast member.
Yeah, that's what I
But
heard.
Serena was like, let me clear this up. Like, me and my man are still together. We will be on the show together. He has actual acting gigs that he has booked.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, he's got an actual fucking job. And so he's not an actual cast member. But I'm so excited. I don't think Rob's on the cast.
Good.
But I would be shocked if he's not there. So
yeah.
In final tidbits, Taylor Swift has been subpoenaed in the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively case. A statement has come from her team, meaning T-Pain, saying that she had nothing to do with the movie. She did not score the movie. She did not write notes on the movie. She did not attend any of this stuff. And in fact, she didn't even watch the movie as soon as it came out because she was too busy headlining the world's biggest tour. Murder. I saw an addition to the comment after I looked at the script. And she also said, the only thing that Taylor Swift did for this movie was give permission to use one of her songs, and so did 19 other artists. So why are they not subpoenaed? Because they want a big name to give this case more publicity. And they said, oh.
Okay, Queen.
Okay, Tree.
Queen Tree. She... T-Pain sounds like the name of one of the trolls.
It does, yeah.
Like, if we were going through the cast of the Trolls movie, and they were like, Branch, Poppy, T-Pain, like...
Yeah. I was gonna say,
it sounds like
a combination of two.
I was gonna say, it sounds like one, like the nature vibes of like Branch, Poppy, whatever, but also like combined with a play on T-Pain because their music, you know.
Yeah. Have you seen the new Pygmy Hippo, Poppy?
No.
This is in North Carolina.
Does she look like Moodang?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She's very little.
Moodang. Oh, Moodang.
My friend met Moodang. And she brought me Moodang stickers.
Sammy got me Moodang stickers for Valentine's Day.
She met Moodang.
Moodang.
Poppy, you're very cute, but you're second in command.
Gonna need a better name.
Sorry.
Okay. Vanderpump Villa is back.
And all of it.
Yeah, and this time they released the whole season at once, which I hated.
I just kept being like, okay, Billy, we're almost caught up. This has got to be the last one. And then finally I was like, let me go look. Oh, there are 10.
Yeah, I watched it like the day it came out, and I got through the first episode, and it was like, play next. And I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah. I knew last time they released like 3 at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, it'll be a few at once. No. Stupid.
Passing away. So we obviously got Stassi, but we also got a lot of other people because Lisa Vanderpump was wanting to fire people left and right.
Yeah, I literally was like, did she just say, like, I need X amount, so I'm going to hire double that, so that I can just fire them because that's good TV. And also,
only one was replaced.
I'm going to make it into a game show.
Yeah. Only one of them was replaced the entire time.
Well, she brought the 3 in. She brought those 3 people in. They were supposed to be replacing.
Right. TJ, Cher, and someone else.
Yeah. But she did not replace the sous chef.
I know. I was like, don't you need one of those? We also got a little Hulu crossover when Mom Talk came to the castle to say goodbye to Jen Affleck. It like the trip was about her moving, but I couldn't tell if this was like confirmation that she won't be returning for season 2 because she was moving, or I don't know what the point was.
Yeah. I've seen now that before she became pregnant with her third child or before she announced her pregnancy, that she and what's his noggin were in a secret separation.
I did also see that.
So I obviously don't know the timeline. Like, she was moving to Arizona for him, but then also maybe at some point they were separated, and then they got pregnant, and now she's at least with the Mom Talk girls again. I guess I haven't technically seen her in the promos.
I think, at least in like the cast photos, I've seen that they added one of the original swingers.
Yes.
I want to say that I wasn't seeing Whitney in the promos.
They're both in the big cast photo.
Okay. And
it's
they have that live
except the new girl.
They have that Vegas live show.
Yeah. It's true.
I don't know. Anyway, Marciano was very interested in Demi, who is very married, and to one of the few Mom Talk husbands that we as a nation can tolerate. Like, I don't hate him. And so, like, I need them to stay together for now.
Sure. Certainly don't be with Marciano.
Right.
Little DJ and ass.
So Marciano talked about like feeling a connection with her in his confessionals, but then in the conversation where he said he's gonna like talk to her about this, it seemed more like she was like trying to help him navigate feelings and like giving him advice. Like, I think it was clearly not romantic for her. Like, she thought like, I'm helping this young man as like someone who's married with like his love life.
Like, when she said there have been like 20 times that I thought I would get a divorce, that was not her saying like, so I'm in a bad relationship.
Right.
That was her saying like, you know, it happens. Like, things get rough. Yeah, I know we're gonna get to the reunion in a second, but like, it was weird to me at the reunion that people like very explicitly were like, clearly y'all had an emotional, like, they're trying to say she had an emotional affair. Right. And it's like, maybe they had a relationship that her husband will be uncomfortable with. Like, that's not for me to decide, but it's like, it did seem very like maternal.
Yeah.
Like, for her, I think she knew that he wanted to fuck, so maybe she should have treaded even more lightly. But like, I think that she was very much like, let me give this little loser ass some advice.
Right. That's what I thought. Unless there's like some things that they didn't air.
Well,
since the episode aired, Demi has come forward and accused Marciano of sexual harassment, which he has denied. She responded saying that he made sexual advances on her, which she made clear to him were unwanted, and that is the basic definition of sexual harassment. She was like, you can call me a liar all you want, but I'm going by textbook here. This is what happened. This is what it means.
Yeah.
He has been posting reels, I assumed, about her.
I think they were.
On Instagram, one of which was captioned, uninvited to the function because a 30-year-old Mormon wife's scared to tell her husband the truth.
Yeah. Because he was like the only person that didn't get to go to the Hulu event.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. We'll
come back to this.
We'll come back to this. But I was so excited that Stassi got to host a reunion. That's so fun. She
really was born for it.
Yeah, can they not fucking realize we don't want Lisa, though?
I know.
Also, every time Lisa talked.
Yeah, dumb. Reunion was so good. I think in this setting, it's awkward to recap something when literally the whole season came out at once. So I'm kind of just gonna recap like the reunion and like kind of hit the main
stuff
of the episodes. So they asked Aiden about Polly Calafiore from Big Brother and The Challenge. I heard them say Polly, and I looked up and I said, "Is that Polly Calafiore?" And then I looked again and I was like, "That is Polly Calafiore." And also, what is happening here? So Polly and
they
his
just keep being like
girlfriend-
this group of Olympians, and I'm like,
I know.
no,
What? Like, what the fuck?
no.
That's what I said. I said, "Is that Polly Calafiore?" And Sammy said, "Is he an Olympian?" I said, "No, he was on Big Brother." And he said, "Oh, then that's probably not him because they said this is a group of Olympic athletes." What the fuck? Okay, so Polly and his girlfriend were guests of honor, but they have an open relationship.
Which they never said explicitly.
Right. They
We're
clearly
guessing.
have an open relationship.
Yeah.
We used our context clues. So his girlfriend is like urging him to give Aiden his number because she could tell that he was into him. I did look him up on Instagram, and it's like bisexual badass and like crop top daddy, of course. But I didn't see anything about them being an open relationship. But whatever. So Polly gave him like a very like heartfelt, like I felt uncomfortable listening to this note.
Yeah.
Because it was like I was like, you don't know him.
Yeah.
Basically gave him this note with his number, but at the reunion, Aiden said that after he was fired, he did DM and text Polly and never heard back. And then Stassi was like, "That's really awkward because guess who's here?" And Polly came out, and Aiden was like, "What the fuck? Why you ghosted me? Why are you here?" And Polly said, "If you're coming after the lion, don't hide in the DMs with the sheep."
Yeah, very
and
weird.
that was apparently a great answer because then they made out.
And then Aiden said, like, "No, I texted you too," and he said,
"Are you gonna argue with me?
Do you want to fight about it, or do you want to kiss and make up?" I was like, "This is so weird."
I hate it.
And like, so Billy was like, "Is this allowed?" Like, it was so like overtly sexual.
Yes.
That I was just like, we should let Aiden leave. We don't need him for the rest of the reunion.
They asked, they were like, "Can he go now?"
Yeah.
I was like, this is my nightmare blunt rotation.
Yeah.
I hate it. Aiden isn't the only one who hooked up with a guest, which we learned last season is not off limits. I truly don't understand the employment structure and the business model of Vanderpump Villa.
Once you are off the clock, this is just vacation for you.
Right.
But then it's also not like that sometimes. Like, it's like you did make the guests uncomfortable. Right. So then it's like, I don't understand.
Yeah. So Lexi and Tyler were like together. But he made out with a guest. And they were like broken up for a second. And then she was like, "Actually, that's okay." But then she motorboated Stassi's sister Georgie and made out with her, and he didn't like that. But then they got back together again. But then he was he had conversations with another employee, and then they did break up for real.
Yeah.
They did also bring up Marciano's claims of a connection with Demi, and he said that they connected at the villa and that it went beyond the villa.
Yeah.
And someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone hinted that it was actually, I think it may have been Hannah.
Yeah.
Hinted that it was actually Demi's bestie that Marciano had hooked up with.
I think what Marciano was trying to say was something with Demi happened outside of the house, and then something else with someone else. So he is saying both are true.
Right. So at first he was like, what are you talking about? What are you referencing? And she was like, and then he was like, "Okay, yeah, of course." Since then, I have seen a blind item that said that Jessie cheated on her husband with Marciano. Obviously can't confirm or deny. Allegedly.
But he did tell us that it will make it to the season. He said, "I can't tell you because you'll have to wait and see."
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
Marciano. You're ruining our lives. one Hulu show at a time.
Yeah.
Sam made out with Layla from the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, despite being interested in Alyssa. That obviously didn't go anywhere because in the promo for Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Layla has a boyfriend now.
Mm-hmm.
Dom was also interested in Alyssa in his sleep,
Mm-hmm.
but was originally kind of having a fling with Grace. And then when Grace found out about his dreaming about Alyssa, she was like, I'm done with this. And then she ended up with TJ, who's way hotter than Dom.
Yeah.
At the reunion, TJ put his foot in his mouth by saying that first he said he was interested in Grace because she was really the only single girl left when he got
Yep.
there. And then he said what made him decide to make a move was that he was drunk.
Yeah.
And Grace was like, please stop fucking talking.
Yeah.
And he said, what I mean is that Grace, being one of the only single girls, pretty quickly showed an interest in him, and that's what kind of led to the sparks flying, and that
Mm-hmm.
he wouldn't have had the courage to act on it when he was sober, which is
Yeah.
basically the same thing. I'm still not a fan of
He
that.
said he's like, no, what I mean is that I wouldn't have done it on TV sober. And they're like, good job, you made it. And I was like, I kind of think though that he said what he meant.
Yeah, I
I
think he's
think
saying the same thing.
I think he meant like I went to Italy. I was single. This girl was willing to fuck me and no strings attached. So I did it.
Yeah.
Like I also like do hate when casual stuff happens and they ask like what drew you to her. I wanted to fuck.
Right. And that's okay.
That's
Like,
okay.
we ended the season with her saying, like, I don't want this to go anywhere.
Yeah, like that's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
Last year, Grace was interested in Andre, which I was like, obviously agree. Um,
What does that mean?
that Andre's so cute. At the time,
Nah, I always thought he was too like awkward. Like I got people were like he's attractive and I was like I guess, but like as soon as he opens his mouth, he is like so
make fun
like
of his lisp.
huh?
Are you about to make fun of his lisp?
No. He's just like I don't know, everyone always talked about him like, "Oh my god, Andre's so hot." And it's like
I think Andre is hot.
right, but then he would start talking and he like seemed like 10 years younger than he is and he just seemed like kind of like lame and I was just like, "Okay."
I think, I think Andre's hot. I was telling Sammy earlier this season that I think Andre, now I don't see it as much because now I'm realizing that Andre reminds me of Kid President.
Mm.
But anyway, so, but Andre had a thing with Gabriella, which when we come into this season was still happening on and off. In the show, we see Andre and Gabriella kind of trying to decide where this is going. At one point, he goes to Lisa crying and saying he loves Gabriella and saying that he needs advice for how to commit to her because she had like overheard him like kind of like playing it up with the boys. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, this is like super casual. Oh no. Um Then, though, at the reunion, they show us some never before aired clips of Andre flirting with Bridget and then telling Marciano that he was planning on using a gaslighting tactic on Gabriella by saying that he's locked in on her, which they also show a clip of him saying to her.
Mm-hmm.
So they ask her, like, what of this did you know? And she was like, none of it.
Yeah.
This is news to me. And she said, like, basically, like, I was right when I dumped him at the end of this season. Like,
Yeah.
and I got my bag. I won the prize this season, and I was like, I'm done with this. And I was right.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I was telling Katie here on the phone the other day, I feel like Andre was, like, in some way prepared for this because he like was like really playing up that like he's a father and
Yeah.
like that this like with Gabriella has just been like an emotional roller coaster and like that he's like ready to commit to her but like he's not sure if she's ready and like all this stuff and like was really trying to play into like his vulnerable like emotional side of things. And then like we see this where he's like literally straight up saying to someone like I am going to gaslight this woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that it was as intentional. I honestly think that like that is probably how Andre moves through the world, is that he is like the nice guy and he is like the cute, awkward, kind of soft. I have lots of friends that are girls, like I'm a good guy. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's Andre, and I think that like that's how he exists to people.
Yeah.
And I think that like I think the crying
He
is
is good
fake.
president.
I think the crying is fake, but I think that it's probably something that he does. And that he's like, see, look, I'm so in touch with my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then you don't think like this is like a narcissist who's like taking advantage of me, you know?
I want to get your opinion on Bo and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's as weird as everyone says it is?
I don't really know. I think like on paper, yeah, it's weird. Like it seems like strange that not like strange that he got a tattoo with his sister.
No,
Like,
yeah. Harry Styles has a tattoo of his sister's initial.
um, and like it, I feel like you could have done something else other than just each other's name, but like whatever. But it does
Maybe
like
that's what we should do.
you could like see it like her like he was like hovering around her and Stassi's just like she can walk like
Right.
she's good like she doesn't need you to just like you know what I mean so
Yeah.
it's like it was weird like the way that like he did kind of hover over her the way that almost like a controlling boyfriend
Yeah.
would however I would die for Bo
Yeah.
and
He's never
so
done anything wrong in his life,
yeah
actually.
sorry um
So,
you never heard me and Mary defend a man. Here it is.
yeah.
Write home about it. Record this moment. You'll never hear it again. But with it being Bo, like I'm kind of just like maybe there's like so much more to their relationship. Like Stassi
Mm-hmm.
said, they met later in life, and like
Right.
also him and Stassi together are so like tapped in to like his Italian heritage and like that part of his culture, and so like I don't know, like I part of me is like maybe it's not weird, and for Italians, maybe it's not weird,
Yeah.
right? Like Italians are like closer
Yeah.
family wise, you know.
We love each other.
Well, like Italians in Italy, they'd be like kissing all the time.
Um, my thought is kind of the same. I think like what people are saying is like a valid like way to look at it. I think that some of these people rewatched A Simple Favor a little too close to when this came out in preparation for another Simple Favor, and they're like, "Oh, that's what happens when you meet a sibling later in life. You want to fuck them."
Yeah,
Like not always. There is like science behind that, but not always. Okay.
sure.
And yeah, not all the time. But I do think that in general, meeting a sibling later in life provides an entirely different dynamic
Sure.
in your relationship with them. And so I think that like that's where like the protection kind of comes in. Like I think he's like making up for lost time. Like
Yeah.
he didn't get to be like a protective brother for
Yeah.
her, and so like now he's like fully leaned into brother mode
Right.
when she's around. And I think that that's different for Stassi. I also think that like the relationships we've seen Stassi have, they're not like compassionate men that she
Sure.
dated before before Bo, and that's their couple name. Um, she didn't date compassionate men before Bo, and so like Jax Taylor was not like Jax Taylor loves his sister. Don't get me
might want to
wrong.
fuck her.
Right. But it was like it wasn't at the same degree of like genuine care that Bo shows for Georgia, and I think that that's like different for her to experience as the wife in that situation. But yeah, I think that both of them are valid. I think that it's valid of him to be like, I have this new role, which I don't know how much later in life they met, but like the somewhat new role as a brother, didn't grow up as a brother to her. But also for Stassi to be like, I want to be the center of his world.
Yeah. I think two other things to consider with this is that Bo's mother is a therapist. So, like, Bo's ability to just be like, I want to love my sister.
Yeah.
No shame, whatever. Like, is a little different. Second thing, I think that men, maybe, question mark, but people, like, I think that Bo probably just feels so secure in his relationship with Stassi that, like, he forgets that he needs to, like, make a show of putting her first. Yeah. Like, in his mind, like, duh. Like, I live with you. I got kids with you. I spend all of my, like, what?
That's my bestie.
Yeah, but I think that, like, he, with Georgia, like, probably still feels like he has something to prove. And, like, with Stassi, he's like, that's my life. That's my partner. Like, what the hell do I have to prove to her? And, like, obviously that's just, like, not how she feels. But I think that there is just, like, something, like, different. Like, even you and our parents, like, who have been in my life obviously far longer than Billy, like, I speak to you a little differently. I have, like, I'm not just, like, walking around being like, fuck you, but, like, I might do that to Billy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a different.
Yeah. I've, like, also, like, tried to, when I talk about Billy, on the rare occasion that I talk about Billy, I always, like, explain to, cool. Yeah. They love him. But with adults.
Sure.
I always, like, explain, like, but also, like, I've known my brother-in-law since I was in middle school.
Sure.
So even, like, my brother-in-law and I have a different dynamic than I think most people have with their in-laws. Like,
sure.
My relationship with Billy is, like, very different from my relationship with my husband's siblings.
Yeah, or my relationship with Sammy.
Right, like, I've known Billy. I knew Billy before y'all were dating. Yeah. I've known Billy since I was a child, and, like, far longer than I've known my husband and his family. Sure. Like, I think that it just, like, dynamics are different.
Yeah.
And, you know. Yeah. I was talking to someone the other day. One of my friends just started dating someone, and she was, like, talking to me about it, and I was like, oh, this is, like, so interesting for me because, like, I have never experienced, like, she just turned 30, and, like, I was like, I've never experienced dating in my 20s.
Yeah.
Even, like, I was like, I met my husband when I was 19. And that was it. And so, like, I was like, this is so interesting to me, like, hearing kind of how this is developed. And, like, I was asking her, like, are y'all, like, boyfriend, girlfriend level? Like, she's like, I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't want to ask. And I was like, this is just so interesting. And I think that also, like, my dynamic with Sammy is different from maybe people who are dating in their 20s and 30s.
Sure.
Because I met him, like, I was a kid, basically, when I met Sammy.
Sure.
You were definitely a kid when you met Billy.
Yeah, a widow kid. Okay, I have a final thought about the Vanderpump Villa section.
Okay.
Don't kill me, but also, I don't want you to add to it, okay? I just want to note, we didn't talk about Ciati not one time.
I was going to ask why they didn't mention why he wasn't at the reunion.
They did. Lisa said that shortly after the summer ended, he moved out of the country.
Okay, and? So
he cannot be there. He did not come. She just said he left the country and he is not here today.
Okay, I am gonna add one thing. I think that his British accent was the one that was fake.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know what they were talking about. Like, oh, he's actually British. No, the fuck he isn't.
Yeah,
He
and
made
like,
that shit up.
and he told Lisa that he lived in Nottingham from 6 to 16. But then other people, he was like, I'm from Seattle. Like, so I'm like, what? It really just was two totally different stories, I think, too. But
British accent
the
was
whole
disgusting.
point, Mary, was that we mentioned how we didn't mention Ciani, and then we give him no airtime.
Or we give him only bad airtime. All press is good press, Ciati.
Mm.
All right, moving
That's
on.
my point.
Moving on. We could just cut that out. I just had to say it to someone.
No, we can leave it.
Below Deck Down Under, I didn't realize was happening, and so I had to catch all the way up to it. It's been crazy, so I do want to talk about it, but I'll try to stick to the last few episodes. But I do have to give you some background. So the original bosun, Vihan, none of them say his name the same way.
Cool.
Was like early on flirting with Zarina, who is the chef. She's been the chef on Below Deck Down Under. And they kissed. Cute. Also, if you remember Zarina from being the chef on Below Deck Down Under, you'll remember that pretty much this exact same thing happened to her last time, where she thought she had a little boyfriend on the boat, and then someone else came along and he started fucking that girl. And so she was like, wait, what the fuck is happening? But then Marina asked Vihan on a date, and then they also kissed. But then Vihan decided that he was in love, his words, in love with a dare who works on the team. And at first she seems like not into it. She's like, I want a country boy. I want like a big strong cowboy, and he's from like a European country. So no. But then they kiss and they do kind of start a little thing.
It's Brittany Cartwright.
I know. So keep that in your brain. Also, Johnny, who's a deckhand, was starting something with the new sous chef, Alicia, because also Jason's been firing people left and right. The sous chef was fired first episode. The new sous chef, Alicia, her and Johnny, neither of them are into boatmances, but they're like, oh, this is undeniable. We're in love. It's cute. So they're like kind of awkward. And so she like asks him, like, would it be okay if I come cuddle in your room? Like, I don't know like how this works, but like sometimes I just want to feel like close to you. Can I come sleep in your bed sometimes? And he was like, yeah, of course. Like, so cute. So they go out for the night, and Marina and Zarina are pouty because Vion had told them that he wanted to pursue a dare.
How hot is this dude?
He's ugly and short.
Well.
And old looking.
We don't mind that part.
You.
We.
You can have Vihan, and I will get Andre.
You can have Andre with his little gaslighting ass. But I don't want him if he's ugly. But why do 3 women want him? Well, 2, maybe not the one he wants.
Well, so I will say that there are only 3 men on the boat at this point in time, and one was Harry, who has like a clearly established girlfriend. And also Harry is built like a tree branch. And is incredibly awkward, but he has a supermodel girlfriend already. And then Johnny was like very unavailable because he's like, I don't date people on boats.
Yeah.
So they all want to be on.
Cool.
So Johnny confronts him and is like, hey, leading on 3 women at once is not cool. You should stop. Pick one and stick with it. But like, this is ridiculous. And they get back to the boat, and Johnny is blowing off steam. Something happened with like Harry also confronted Vion, because Vion had been like talking about like that Harry was a bad deckhand, and so he confronted him about it, and Vion yelled at him and made him cry, which is why they don't like him. And Vihan goes to bed, but Johnny's like up and kind of like pissed off and like just kind of ranting about the conversation. I want to see if you have any idea where this is going at this point in time.
Johnny's not in his bed.
No, he's not. So Alicia goes into Johnny's room and asks if they can cuddle. And like I have to say, I have to defend my girl.
Mm-hmm.
It is obvious in the video that she can't see her hand in front of her face. I don't know if it's because she's been drinking. I don't know if it's because it's like pitch black dark in there, because like we're obviously getting like the night cam footage, but like she like she kind of looks like the Elisa Lam video, where she's like kind of like like her arms are like,
Alicia,
what is happening? Like she clearly can't see anything. And so she's like, Johnny, can I come cuddle? And she hears someone say like, she's like, that's a yes. So
I'm gonna be sick.
So she climbs into the bed and they're spooning, and she's talking about how she needed a cuddle because she was so sad that Harry was crying. And he says, why was Harry crying? And she was like, Vion was so mean to him. Like, he's crying because he like,
and he said, fuck you.
His boss just like popped off on him in front of everyone. And they're like having this discussion, and like he's like clearly like half asleep. He's like, what is going on? Like, why is Harry crying? But he's also like fully leaned in, cuddling her. And they're having this discussion, and Johnny comes in and turns on the light, and Alicia realizes that she is in Vion's bed with him.
She says, my Greek man walks in here. Who the fuck am I spooning?
Yeah. It's like, my big hunking Greek boyfriend. Who the fuck is this tiny ass man?
I was thinking you felt small.
So she tumbles right out of that bed. She says, oh, absolutely not. Gross. She follows Johnny outside because he comes in. He said, what the fuck did I just walk into? And then he turns around and leaves. And she's like, Johnny. She said, Johnny, I genuinely just fucked up. I thought that was you. And he said, like, you're fine. Like, please don't worry about it. It's totally fine. I don't understand.
I think it's just weird to like still have to watch them